Now that is the new Ferrari Amalfi, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about it. I'm Jordan, and you're watching Auto Express. Okay, yes, that's right. This is Amalfi, as in the lemon or the coast. But in actual fact, this is effectively a brand new type of Roma. Now, the reason why we're told this car has a different name is because Ferrari say it is quite substantially different. And while it does have a similar silhouette, it does look really quite unique, doesn't it? Now, let's start off with the design, because as you can see, this car is all based on pure elegance, we're told. And that is seen in this car's incredible proportion set. Now, the actual body in white is all brand new. It is completely different to the Roma, but the glass is pretty much shared, especially here in the front and on the side. Up front, however, you'll notice that the car has a completely different nose. So let's go into it. So we've got here a very, very slim set of headlights that sit underneath an intake here, as well as a sort of puro sangue style sort of nose with a bridge in it. There isn't a traditional grille in the way that there was before, rather a large opening which sits underneath that sort of main body color. Look a little closer as well, and you notice that there's quite a few differences to the actual bodywork. So this front wing now has a ridge up its side which really catches the light and makes it look a little bit square and a little less soft. And this line that you can kind of see up running the side of the car from here in the taillights, that is also brand new and gives the car a little bit more wedge. We also have a brand new set of wheels, and these are really funky. I mean, look, they're kind of three-dimensional. They've got some gaps in the spokes, and the cars that we saw yesterday actually show a slightly less traditional color, and in either case it's really impressive. At the back you can see that we've got a very different design to the last car. It's a little less sort of smooth and curvaceous, and instead it's a little bit more technical looking, which is kind of like what you see on the new 12 Cilindri. You can also see here we've got a big fat diffuser, and this part of the wing here is what goes up and is active, unlike the sort of black section that used to be on the previous Roma. But anyway, that's a quick overview of the outside. Let's go have a look within. Things are sort of the same in terms of it being similar but different. Now, there's this same sort of cockpit style effect that you see on the old car, but it's now a little less aggressive, and crucially there's a much more usable center screen. The big difference in here though is usability, because Ferrari have included the same widescreen that you get in the 12 Cilindri, and that makes a massive difference to this car's digital interfaces. The last screen was pretty attractive because it was kind of upright and sat here in the center of the dashboard, but it didn't work very well. This guy works much better. Speaking of the center console, this is also brand new. Now, slightly annoyingly, this specific spec has this in carbon, which yes, looks very nice, quite simple, but the standard option is actually one solid piece of milled anodized aluminium, and trust me, that looks and feels utterly fabulous. But a Ferrari is all about what it's like from behind the wheel, and it's still pretty complicated, isn't it? So we have a massive screen here that does all of your key functionality. You can see we've got a centrally mounted rev counter and all of the information left and right. But the big change here is the steering wheel, because it does look pretty similar, but there are a few key differences. The first of which being a starter button. Yes, Ferrari have listened to customers, and whereas the previous cars had a sort of haptic button here in the center, that's now been replaced with a proper physical manual button, which is excellent news. We also have here the traditional Manettino switch, which I know, look, it's just so satisfying. We also have physical buttons here on the steering wheel, and it does just make a huge difference. Now, of course, Ferrari have been pretty clear about how they've listened to customers and given us new physical controls, but what's going to have to go with these is a slightly faster and more sharply reacting HMI in general, because it wasn't just the touch interfaces here on the wheel that were the problem. It was the fact that the screens that it controlled were often a bit laggy. Anyway, typical Ferrari stuff as well. We've got indicators here on the steering wheel, which are pretty cool and actually work quite well. I still prefer a stalk, but the reason why it doesn't have stalks is very simple, because we've got these enormous paddles that are just so satisfying to use, and they always have been. Also, a nice little touch is you can see here we've got controls for our lights and also our wipers here on the wheel. It all looks a little bit befuddling, but trust me, when you have a bit of time with the car, you realize it actually works really, really well. As for space in here, well, there's no more physical space, but they've tried to open it up a little bit thanks to losing that sort of dual cockpit sort of style. And overall, it feels pretty spacious for this sort of car. Now, this is, technically speaking, a four-seater. There are a couple of very small seats that will fit sort of kids or occasional use with grown-ups. I mean, probably not, let's be honest. But inherently, this car is used as a daily driver. Ferrari want to be very sure that people know that they can use this every day, and that makes it a very compelling type of Ferrari. Now, just a quick reminder, did you know that you can actually buy and sell your car at autoexpress.co.uk? If that's something you're interested in, make sure you click the link in the description below and we'll run you through the process. Of course, being an everyday sort of Ferrari means that it has a boot. It's actually not a bad size. Look, it's not going to fit a full set of golf clubs, but it will do a couple of cabin cases. And also, look at that quite weird opening. It's sort of strange, isn't it? Still quite nice though. And what must be one of the sort of most highly detailed boot lids that I've ever seen. Now we're going to do something that we don't often do, and that's have a look under the bonnet. Now, let's be honest, if we're going to talk Ferrari, we have to talk engine because it really is the heart of the car. And as you can see, while this is technically front-engined, it is so far back in the chassis, it really ought to be classified as front mid-engined, which is totally relevant. As opposed to what engine it is, well, we've got a similar 3.9 litre V8 twin turbo here, and it has a slightly higher output of 631 brake horsepower, which is about 20 more than the old Roma. It has also 760 Nm of torque, and it is quicker to 62 as well, hitting that benchmark in just 3.3 seconds. As you can see, it's all about the engine really, isn't it? It's just so artful. It's got all sorts of elements that are from sort of Ferrari's past, things like this sort of crackle finish that you can see on the top of the intake plenums there, and it's just so cool. And let's be honest, this is what a Ferrari is all about, right? Okay, one thing we can't quite do yet is tell you what this car is like to drive. Obviously, we'll have to wait until much later in the year to do that, but I have driven the last one, and this is not a car that needed more power, let's say. Now, of course, Ferrari sort of claim that this car is the entry level, or the car that is going to bring in all sorts of new customers rather than those really hardcore diehards. And inherently, they've told us that they're trying to make this thing actually more accessible and give it a greater bandwidth between sort of comfort on one side and sportiness on the other. But we'll have to tell you that for certain when we drive it. Otherwise, it looks pretty slick, doesn't it? Okay, there we are. So that is Ferrari's brand new Amalfi, replacement for the Roma, and something that we're really excited to have a go in the next few months' time. Either way, I think that Ferrari is onto something here. This car has got a bit more bandwidth, and it looks and feels a little bit more contemporary than the Roma, which I think is a good thing. So we'll have to wait to see what it's like when we drive it later in the year, but for now, I can't wait to have a go.